Unanimous consent, the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, today is the sixth day of Donald Trump's government shutdown. Senate Democrats returned to Washington ready to negotiate. We're ready to work with Republicans to reopen the government and end the health care crisis that faces tens of millions of Americans. But it takes two sides to have a negotiation. We need the Senate Republicans and the House Republicans and the President to come to the table. And meanwhile, Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson seem to be on another planet. Instead of trying to solve this shutdown crisis, Donald Trump spent the weekend golfing and posting memes and deep fakes on the internet. He seems to think this shutdown is some big joke. He's wrong. People will lose their paychecks. Seniors will see Social Security support services slow down. There will be chaos for travelers. This shutdown is all on Donald Trump's shoulders, and Americans agree, according to the polls. Poll after poll after poll, from CBS to the Washington Post to Marist to Morning Consult and many others, consistently show that the public sees the president as most responsible for the shutdown. He's in charge. His party holds majorities across the government. So Americans naturally and correctly believe the burden is on him to fix this mess. Speaker Johnson, meanwhile, has canceled yet another week of session for the House. Why? Because the Speaker knows House Republicans are bitterly divided on health care. He knows a large chunk of his conference doesn't want to fix people's premiums at all. The right-wing MAGA folks. Meanwhile, some of his less extreme members feel a necessity to fix this mess. The Speaker knows these divisions in his conference are serious and deep. So what does the Speaker do with these divisions in his conference, almost irreconcilable? He ducks. He chooses the politically expedient way out. He keeps the Congress out of session for weeks at a time, passes to the Senate a partisan bill with no Democratic input. That's not leadership. That's derelict. Even today, the Speaker said that we can deal with the ACA crisis sometime later. He said, wait, kick the can down the road, to postpone any negotiation until the very last minute. Speaker Johnson, I ask him the question, why the wait? Why not solve this crisis now? If you're not ready to solve it now, how do we know you're going to solve it 45 days from now? When you won't even do it now, and the same reasons that hold you back now will exist then. Insurers are waiting around to set rates for next year. They're doing it right now, not 3 months from now. Delay has always been Speaker Johnson's MO. Speaker Johnson has survived by kicking the can down the road on every major issue under his speakership, promising everyone that the thing they wanted is just around the corner. He did it repeatedly with the Freedom Caucus, for instance. And he's doing the same thing now with health care. If Speaker Johnson is serious about lowering costs and protecting the health care of the American people, why wait? Most of America, when Johnson says later, they know he means never. Democrats want to deal with the health care problem now. A recent poll by KFF shows that 80% of Americans want to extend the ACA tax credits, including 60% of MAGA Republicans. That's where the people are. A CBS poll also found that 75% of Americans don't think the administration is focused enough on lowering costs. Well, lowering health care premiums would be one of the very best ways to lower costs, because those costs are going through the roof. Many estimates show the average American would pay $1,000 more for health care. Listen to this. If you're a couple, 55-year-old couple who makes $80,000 a year, your premiums could go up $25,000 a year. How is anyone going to deal with that issue? Why is Johnson waiting? But But yet again, Speaker Johnson and MAGA Republicans continue to lie and change the subject. Donald Trump does the same thing. The Speaker today once again lied that Democrats' proposal would provide health care benefits to undocumented immigrants. He even cited a page number and section within our proposal he says supposedly proves the point. Of course our proposal doesn't say that. As the Sunday show talk commentators Johnson sent down with this weekend pointed out, and he had no real rebuttal. Saying that Democrats' proposal provides health insurance to undocumented immigrants is plain and simple, a blatant lie. It was a lie yesterday, it's a lie today, it'll be a lie tomorrow. Nothing in our proposal, not even the page the Speaker keeps citing as changes that, as fact checkers have repeatedly pointed out, independent fact checkers, not Democrats, not Republicans, just experts. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for Medicaid, Medicare, or ACA credits under current law or under the Democratic continuing resolution proposal. It's been the law for decades. Instead, here's what Democrats want to do. We want to reverse the devastating cuts to American health care that Republicans passed in their big ugly bill. We want to extend the ACA tax credits that lower costs for eligible Americans. These are the plain facts. But Speaker Johnson and Republicans don't want to deal with the facts. They don't want to talk about health care because they know the American people are appalled by their health care policies. So instead, they lie, change the subject. And Speaker Johnson and the House Republicans would rather duck out of town than come into session and do their jobs. You know, when Leader Jeffries and I met with the president, he, of all people, seemed at least to somewhat appreciate the immense harm of letting these ACA credits expire. Of course, we had to walk the president through it first because it seemed he had no clue of the crisis before our meeting. But frankly, what should happen now is this. The president should lean on Speaker Johnson to relent on his extreme refusal to negotiate. It's not a sustainable position for the Speaker to literally shut the entire House down and not do anything to solve this crisis. Again, why wait? Democrats are ready to solve this now. We urge Donald Trump to get Speaker Johnson and our Republican colleagues to come to the table with Senator Jeffries and I, negotiate and address this problem and fix it once and for all. I yield the floor.
That Democrats are losing the Schumer shutdown. Even their media allies are turning against them. Here's an editorial from today's Washington Post. The headline is, "The Shutdown Conversation No One Wants." The Washington Post editorial board today wrote this, quote, "Democrats have demanded that Republicans agree to extend the COVID-era insurance subsidies without proposing any way to pay for it." They go on to say the Congressional Budget Office estimates that it would cost $350 billion over the next decade. Now that's the Washington Post talking, not Republicans. So it's no surprise that Democrats are avoiding this conversation. Obamacare is broken, Obamacare is a failure, and now Democrats are holding the American people hostage to prop it up. The Biden bonus COVID payments are a bait and switch. Democrats created them in 2021. They did it as a temporary COVID program. They extended them temporarily to 2022. They set an end date from this year when they extended them once again. Now these same Democrats are demanding that they become permanent at a cost of $350 billion. It's unacceptable. This is a system that is riddled with waste, with fraud, abuse, and corruption. Big insurance companies are rewarded with direct payments from the federal government to the insurance companies. Hardworking taxpayers are left holding the bill. Many of these policies, there are no premiums, no deductibles, no income limit, no accountability. Even families making $500,000 a year, they still qualify for these Biden bonus COVID payments. This is reckless, permanent new spending. The American people can't afford it. American people know it. And even the Washington Post knows it and has reported on it today. Democrats lost the election, they've lost their media allies, and now they have lost the argument. Mr. President, on a related matter, here we are, day 6 of the Schumer shutdown. Senate Democrats have now voted 4 separate times to keep our government closed. Radical Democrats are shutting down the government with an outlandish list of demands, and you've seen them, Mr. President. Included in that list is giving free health care to illegal immigrants. When the interests of Americans and illegal immigrants collide, Democrats always seek to benefit the latter at the expense of the former. Think back to the last Democrat primary for president back in June of 2019 when they were having a big debate on live television. There were so many candidates that they actually had to do it 2 separate nights to get them all on the stage. Every running candidate for president was asked in that one debate if their platform would give free health care to illegal immigrants. Every single Democrat candidate on the debate stage that night raised their hand and said yes. Every one of them promised to give free health care to illegal immigrants. Senator Bernie Sanders was on the stage that night. He raised his hand. Senator Kristen Gillibrand of New York was on the stage that night. She raised her hand. Yes, free health care to illegal immigrants. Those are current members of the United States Senate who voted to shut the government down. They voted 4 times in the last 6 days. And it's more than talk. When Democrats get power, it's exactly what they're going to do. Look at California. In 2024, Governor Gavin Newsom expanded state-sponsored health care to illegal immigrants. He actually bragged about it. So there's no hiding from this. 1 year later, the Los Angeles Times reported that by doing this, costs had tripled. There was a headline dated March 13th of this year. It says, cost of undocumented health care in California is billions over estimates. They go on to say, pressuring Democrats to consider cuts. Instead of $3 billion a year, in the California healthcare system costs taxpayers $9.5 billion by providing health care to illegal immigrants. California financed its health care for illegal immigrants through a money laundering scheme aimed at the federal government. They used it to increase the state's Medicaid payments from the federal government directly to the state of California. This is money vacuumed away from hardworking Americans and from the vulnerable people in this country, our friends and neighbors who need Medicaid the most. What California do with it? They used it for illegal immigrants, not for U.S. citizens. President Joe Biden and the Democrats, they went even further. Apparently they weren't liberal enough in doing that. Joe Biden created multiple illegal parole programs when he was president. It was a blatant attempt at amnesty by the sleight of hand. Parole is supposed to be rare, it's supposed to be temporary, and it's supposed to be case by case. And Mr. President, I'm talking about the flood of illegal immigrants that have come into this country across our southern border. People saw them on television. Joe Biden abused presidential parole authority and turned our law on its head. Democrats made non-citizens who were paroled eligible for free health care. Look no further than the illegal immigrant who murdered 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley in Georgia. He crossed the border illegally in 2022. The Biden administration released him into our country instead of removing him. The Biden administration paroled him for what they claimed were, quote, urgent humanitarian reasons of significant public benefit. And then he murdered a nursing student. Joe Biden made Laken Riley's killer eligible for taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats even promised free health care as an enticement to attract illegal immigrants to our southern border. It was a magnet. Well, Democrats have now shut down the government. Why? To defend a system where Laken Riley's killer can get taxpayer-funded free health care. That's who they are. That's their beliefs. That's their commitment, not to the American people, but to the illegal immigrants. Well, Republicans closed the loophole, Mr. President. Our working families' tax cuts put in place strong eligibility verification requirements. So that person can't qualify anymore, or anyone like him. It also ended the gimmicks that allowed California to fund health care for illegal immigrants through higher federal Medicaid payments, the way they siphon money from the federal government into California to pay for illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, what we've seen is President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem rightfully terminated all of these Joe Biden categorical parole programs. He should have never let him in the first place. Now we have terminated him. And the Supreme Court was called into play in an action here. The Supreme Court upheld this decision by the Trump administration after several rounds of left-wing lawfare. President Trump is securing our border. He's putting American citizens first, not illegal immigrants. That's the difference between our parties. Democrats want to undo all of that. That's why they're holding the nation hostage by shutting down the government. That's what this fight is all about. Let's be clear. By shutting down the government, Democrats are putting illegal immigrants ahead of American citizens, ahead of our veterans, ahead of our military, ahead of our seniors, ahead of our children. It is reckless, it's radical, and it is wrong. It's time for it to end. So today, Mr. President, the Senate's going to vote for a fifth time on our bipartisan continuing resolution, and we want to reopen government. It passed the House with bipartisan support. The Senate this evening will have a simple choice once again. Vote to reopen the government and put America first and Americans first, or vote with Senator Schumer to put illegal immigrants ahead of the American people. Voting with Chuck Schumer tonight will keep the government closed. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsor-Brooks.
Shut down. That revealed his priorities. It isn't to protect the health care, the health insurance of millions of Americans who are about to lose their insurance or see premiums skyrocket. Nope, that's not it. The president's priority to deploy militarized immigration agents and National Guard troops to more American cities. Why? Purely for political theater and to advance his extreme agenda. In the early morning hours of Tuesday last week, while this government barreled toward a shutdown, President Donald Trump launched a military law enforcement assault on the city of Chicago. In the city's South Side neighborhood, hundreds of federal agents, many hiding their faces with masks, repelled from Black Hawk helicopters, darted out of disguised moving trucks, armed with military-grade weapons, to descend on a targeted apartment building in the city of Chicago. They swarmed through the building, knocking down doors, tearing up homes. And it appears that these agents knew nothing in advance about the residents whose homes they were destroying. In fact, in the dead of night, federal agents reportedly started checking on the residents as they brought them out of the building. Residents that included American citizens and children. They checked on them to see if maybe they had an outstanding warrant for their arrest or were undocumented. Picture this, if you will. You're with your family in an apartment building, a helicopter lands on the roof, federal agents with masks on batter down your doors, drag you and your children out of their beds into the street, and start an interrogation as to whether there's any undocumented person present. America. Many were yanked from their homes and their beds and detained shirtless and without clothing. Some were detained using zip ties, including children. Here's what one witness to the event said. Kids were crying, people were screaming, they looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I saw the little girl come around the corner because they were bringing the kids down too. They had them zip tied together. In the middle of the night in the city of Chicago, an assault on an apartment building in America. The witness continued, one of the agents laughed out loud. He said, F them kids. 4 U.S. citizen kids with undocumented parents were separated from their parents who were taken into custody. Secretary Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security posted to social media a highly produced video of the raid, her version of the story, because that's all this is to them, a promotional video, political theater. The human toll must be immense. What if it was your child, yanked out of his bed in the middle of the night, hands zip-tied behind him, brought down with few, if any, clothes on, standing in the street while all this is happening, watching his parents be arrested in America. In another case, ICE agents fired a pepper ball into CBS Chicago reporter Azo Rezi's car. What was her crime? Driving by the Broadview ICE facility to report on the protests there. It's known in the Constitution as freedom of the press. Doesn't seem to impress Kristi Noem. I've long fought for humane reforms to our immigration system on a bipartisan basis and evidence-based ways to reduce crime in our cities. If the president is serious about fixing our immigration system or lowering crime in our communities, I'm all in. But sending in militarized federal immigration agents and National Guard troops to terrorize Chicago or any American community in any state is not the American way. Excuse me. These actions have accomplished what I believe is the president's true intention here, spreading fear in America, especially among immigrant communities. And he's been very successful. I go to these communities virtually every weekend when I return back to Illinois. I meet with the people who live there. They are scared to death. People who have been here for years, no criminal record, no reason to be removed, working and paying taxes, are afraid to shop and afraid to go to church. Last week on the floor, I warned about this, and I have for some time now. The president's decision to unleash military personnel against the city of Chicago and American communities is another pillar in his master plan to weaponize the federal government against those he views as the enemy within. Where did that phrase come from? From the mouth of the President of the United States speaking to the military leaders of the United States. He told them to be fearful of the enemy within and to use American cities as their training ground. Think of that. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller ranted to law enforcement agents on the eve of their Memphis deployment that they were, quote, being unleashed. Stephen Miller's word, unleashed. Does that sound like law and order? Does that sound like the rule of law? Unleashed. In addition to Memphis and Chicago, this president has targeted cities like Los Angeles and Portland. Reckless immigration raids, unnecessary deployment of military power over the objection of state and local officials. I fear these disturbing developments are the latest indicators that we are on a slippery slope into control by the Trump regime. The president is attempting to overturn the Department of Justice, the FBI, ICE, and the military into his own personal police force. This not only erodes trust between communities and the people tasked with protecting them, it is an existential threat to civil liberty, the rule of law, and the core values of who we are as Americans. This is what's at stake, and this is a defining moment we're in. In times like these, you have a choice. You can stand up and speak out, or you can be silent, or maybe you could cheer. It's your choice as Americans. But think about it if it was your family, in the middle of the night, people crashing through the doors, yanking you and your children out of bed into the street, arresting people. Remember what the goal was when we got started with this? The president made it very clear. We were after undocumented people, illegal people in the United States who were rapists, murderers, terrorists, criminally insane, and child predators. The president was very explicit. These are the people we're going after. We'll tell you their names as we arrest them. So what percentage of those that's been arrested with this mass deportation, detained by ICE, what percentage of them have a criminal record? Fewer than 30%. By a 2-to-1 margin, innocent people are being dragged into this. In the middle of the night in the city of Chicago in an apartment building. Children are being treated like pawns in the Trump political game. Today, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul filed a lawsuit to block the administration's unconstitutional attempt to deploy troops in Illinois. I joined with all my Democratic colleagues in the Illinois delegation, calling on the president to immediately rescind this unnecessary and dangerous deployment of the military to Illinois. I've spoken personally to the governor of our state, J.B. Pritzker, several times this weekend as the story developed. He did not ask for the National Guard troops to be sent in from Texas or any place. There is no need for it, to either protect federal facilities or to protect the people living in the city of Chicago. I'm going to continue as ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee speaking out. And I appeal to my Republican colleagues who are watching this in silence. It could be you. You could have an opportunity soon for the president to send in troops. It's not likely as much from the Republican side. Very few of their communities have been targeted. But if you happen to live in a state that didn't vote for Donald Trump, buckle up. He's coming down on you, whether it's California Oregon, or Illinois. I'll close with this. At that Tuesday morning raid, videos taking at the scenes showed detained immigrants being held in an adjacent parking lot. Across the street, a woman is seen heard calling out in broken Spanish, "I'll always love you." Where is the humanity in tearing families apart? If there is a dangerous person, for God's sake, put them in a separate category. But families that are doing their best to get by and struggle, work and pay taxes, and have children who are citizens of the United States should never be treated like this in America. In an interview recently, Secretary Noem was quoted as saying, "This country is a country of laws. If you don't like the laws, go change them. We are enforcing them." She said that is sending a message to the whole world. The Secretary is right. The administration certainly sent a message in Chicago on Tuesday night, a shameful message, one that shouldn't be part of American history. Terrorizing families with midnight raids and troops in our streets is writing a shameful chapter in our nation's history. This is going to make America great again. President Trump is not intent on fighting crime. He is intent on spreading fear, and in doing so, he is destroying the values which define us as Americans. I yield the floor.
President.
The senator from Texas.
Madam President, are we on a quorum call?
We are not.
Madam President, it's been 6 days since Senate Democrats have shut down the federal government. They did that by blocking a clean continuing resolution, as it's called around here, a stopgap spending bill that would take us to November the 21st to provide enough time to try to work out appropriations bills for full year funding, which are highly preferable to simply operating on autopilot as a continuing resolution would do. And this has already passed the House of Representatives. So all we need to do to reopen the government is for five Democrats to join three other Democrats and Republicans to vote to reopen the government, not forever, but for the next 9 weeks or so. Let's not forget that it was partisan antics on their part that have brought us where we are today. We've now voted not just once, but 4 times on the House passed clean government funding bill. While 3 Democrats have seen the light, as I said earlier, and have joined Republicans in voting for a clean continuing resolution, they have routinely done this in the past. When President Biden was in office, when Chuck Schumer was the majority leader, we voted for, I think, 13 separate continuing resolutions. But so far, they've refused to do so out of pure spite and partisanship. Government shutdowns have unfortunately become far too common in Washington, but I think it's important to take a minute to consider the impacts, the real world impact on our constituents back home. Since Texas is obviously one of the largest states in the country, it will suffer an outsized impact. The Lone Star State is home to about 130,000 federal civilian employees. This number includes 33,000 who work with the Veterans Health Administration. These are the folks who serve our veterans, who we are duty-bound and obligated, morally obligated to support. But 33,000 of them will be negatively impacted by this shutdown, already have been. Almost 18,000 of these employees of these total number, work for U.S. Customs and Border Protection. These are the folks that stop illegal drugs from entering in the country and make sure that illegal aliens don't make their way into the country, as we've seen during the last 4 years. Close to 6,000 Texans work for the Transportation Security Administration, the folks that you encounter at airports and various different ports that help manage the flow of travelers going to and from security screenings before they board flights. Finally, the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center in Texas has 3,000 employees, but is expected to furlough about 70% of them due to the lapse in federal funding. What happens to these federal employees during a government shutdown? Well, the most dramatic thing that happens to them is they don't get paid. Even those that are deemed essential and who have to work, they work without pay, just as those who are furloughed work without pay. Now, before I came to the floor, I looked up a statistic, and I think it sounds about right, but 6 out of 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And while it may be okay for members of Congress, particularly wealthy members of Congress who don't have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck, to miss a paycheck, it's catastrophic to many, many Americans who live paycheck to paycheck, who don't have adequate savings to help them weather a government shutdown. And while each of these categories receive back pay, once the government's reopened, they cannot receive a paycheck during the shutdown. This is extraordinarily unfair to these government employees who, through no fault of their own, are being denied the pay that they have earned. Now, this will have a particularly serious impact on our military and Department of Homeland Security personnel, many of whom have been designated as accepted, or we used to say some were essential employees, but they have to stay on the job, in other words, but they don't get paid either. Texas has 15 active duty military installations where personnel are required to continue reporting for duty throughout the shutdown. These active duty personnel will not be paid again until a final funding deal is reached. And right now, we don't know how long this is going to go on. I know most of us come to the floor and express our gratitude, our profound gratitude to our men and women in uniform and their families that serve our country and keep us safe. But this strikes me as a very bad way to say thank you to them by saying, yes, you have to continue to work, but no, you're not going to be paid. So Senate Democrats apparently have made that calculation. This is how they thank them: by cutting off their pay, denying them their livelihood, and holding them hostage over petty partisan demands. In addition to active duty military personnel, I mentioned Customs and Border Protection. All of them are expected to continue reporting for duty day in and day out during the government shutdown. Our Border Patrol agents, who bore the brunt of Biden's open border policies, working hundreds of hours in some of the harshest of conditions, and have processed millions of illegal aliens flooding into the United States courtesy of President Biden. Now we're telling them, or at least Senate Democrats are telling them, you're not going to get paid. This is how they have chosen to reward these patriotic men and women who keep our borders secure, by shutting down the government and denying them their paycheck. And why do Senate Democrats think this is so important? Well, they've told us what their demands are, what the ransom that they are demanding. They want us to wipe out a $50 billion rural hospital stabilization fund that was part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Many of us represent rural states that have large rural areas, and access to health care is a big problem. And we had tried to address that problem by providing a significant fund, this Rural Hospital Stabilization Fund, to help address those concerns. But Democrats want to take that away. We also said in the One Big Beautiful Bill, no money can go to provide health care for illegal aliens. Access to free government services is one of the magnets that draw people to come to our country in the first place. This is one of the so-called pull factors that the Border Patrol talks about. And we said no more free health care for illegal aliens, which is a magnet for people to enter the country the wrong way, not the right way. And Democrats want to restore that free health care to illegal aliens as part of their demands for reopening the government. Madam President, this is simply unconscionable, but it is also profoundly dumb. Shut down the government solves nothing. We've seen this movie before, and what happens when you reopen the government, the same problem, the same issues that caused you to shut down the government are there staring you in the face. So these shutdowns solve nothing. I don't know how Senate Democrats can continue voting against a clean government funding bill like they themselves have previously supported on a routine basis, knowing that the men and women who keep them and us safe are working for free without a paycheck for no other reason than that Senate Democrats refuse to give up on their partisan pipe dreams. FEMA employees, Federal Emergency Management Agency, who are first responders in a case of natural disaster, are also expected to continue to be working without paid during hurricane season, no less. In addition to law enforcement and emergency personnel, a government shutdown affects all Americans one way or the other. It affects travel, it affects access to public lands. TSA workers and air traffic controllers have to keep working. And these are the people that make sure our airlines operate safely and on time. But they have to work without pay. The hiring and training of any new air traffic controllers, which we know is a real problem and an important issue, all that will stop during the time the federal government shut down. No new hiring of new personnel to help make our air traffic safe. All this because Senate Democrats can't work in a bipartisan manner to keep government open even for a few weeks. The government shutdown also impacts our national parks and federal lands. Texas boasts 3.2 million acres of federally operated public lands, including Big Bend National Park, Guadalupe Mountains National Park, and Padre Island National Seashore. National parks face a partial shutdown, meaning that some areas, such as open-air sites, will remain open to the public, but buildings that require staffing, like museums, will have to close. Madam President, my constituents, roughly 32 million Americans, like all Americans, have to pay the price because of this completely unnecessary government shutdown and the outrageous demands Democrats are making to reopen. All of this lies squarely at their feet. You know, I was reflecting over the weekend after the last time we voted to reopen the government and Democrats voted no, how this must reflect on the United States in the eyes of the world. I think most countries, most people around the world look at the United States as sort of that city on the hill, the place where they would like to live or at least visit, because we have the largest, most successfully functioning democracy in the world, with high standards of living, the opportunity for people to work hard, provide for their family, start a business, achieve their dreams. It is profoundly embarrassing, I think it should be embarrassing, to all members of Congress that we simply cannot get our act together enough to fund the government for the next few weeks while these negotiations over long-term appropriations bills are occurring. This kind of dysfunction is completely unworthy of what has been known, what has used to be known as the world's greatest deliberative body. The unfortunate reality is it doesn't have to be this way. Many of our Democratic friends have from time to time talked about various things being a threat to democracy. Well, being unable to pass a bill to fund the government to keep the lights on and keep government employees paid, that strikes me as a threat to our democracy. Senate Democrats have long preached the virtues of bipartisanship, especially when it comes to avoiding government shutdowns. And in the past, they've wagged their finger. We've seen it all on social media and on cable TV. They've said shutdowns are idiocy. That's what the Democratic leader said on TV years ago when the shoe was on the other foot. He said it's idiocy. Well, I agree with him. It was idiocy then, and it's idiocy now. The American people may not understand the ins and outs of what goes on here, but what they can smell from a mile away is hypocrisy. And that's all this is, sheer hypocrisy. All our colleagues need to do when we vote here shortly is to vote for a clean, continuing resolution. And all of this can be reversed. And we can get back to the working together to try to solve some of the issues that I know they care about as well. We all care about access to health care. And that's one of the items that we have to address certainly before the end of the year with the expiring of certain provisions, certain subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. And we're happy to have that conversation. And we will have that conversation, but not while the government shut down. So the good news is, well, let me back up and say the bad news is government shut down. The good news is that can end today, this afternoon. Democrats have an opportunity to vote with Republicans to pass a clean, continuing resolution as they have at many times in the past. So I hope we can all join arms and say, let's put an end to this nonsense and pass this legislation on what will now be the fifth opportunity. The American people are counting on us, and we shouldn't let them down. Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President?
The senator from New Jersey.
Madam President, I asked people back home in New Jersey how they felt about this moment in our country. And what I heard falls into this category of saying that they said that they felt like things are spinning out of control. That every day feels like a new crisis. Every day the anxiety grows deeper. Every day it seems like we move further from a solution. And in order to find a solution to this moment, we need to understand the problem. The problem that we face and that I want to talk about with you today is that we have a government that has been hijacked at the highest levels by people who act like mob bosses. Now, I get it. I'm from Jersey. We know a thing or two about mob bosses. But I want to be clear. This isn't pulling off a Lufthansa heist or having members of your crew get lost in the Pine Barrens. This is about a Trump administration that is using the same tactics we've seen time and time again in movies and in real life. Extortion, corruption, intimidation, and violence. All of these things that have become hallmarks of the Trump presidency. And I bring them up today, 6 days into a government shutdown, because this is what the Trump administration is focused on. The Trump administration is not focused on lowering your costs. If they were, they'd be here at the Capitol today, working to find a way to lower healthcare costs as we're about to see them spike for millions of Americans, potentially kicking large numbers off their coverage who can't afford it. The Trump administration is not focused on creating jobs or creating economic opportunities. If they were, they'd be here in both the Senate and the House today, working to make sure that we're investing in the kinds of things only government can provide. Things that make us more competitive, more innovative, more prosperous. The Trump administration is certainly not focused on keeping you and your family safer. If they were, they'd be here at the Capitol today, in both chambers, working to get our troops paid or to address the real challenges at home and abroad that threaten our security. Instead, this administration and leaders here in this Capitol have shut down this government so they can focus on the things that they want, to use government to further corruption so that they can funnel money to their billionaire donors, to use government as a tool to extort the American people to bend to their will, to weaponize government to intimidate Americans through violence who dare oppose their actions by even just speaking out. Corruption, extortion, and intimidation through violence. This is how the Trump administration wants to use your government against you. Now, like every great mob movie, it's not just about the boss who plays a critical role. For every Don Corleone, there's a Tom Hagen and a Luca Brasi. Donald Trump plays the role of the mob boss, but it's his henchmen who are really running the show. Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, they're not public servants. Public servants, they work to serve the public. They work towards a public good. Russ Vought and Stephen Miller are straight out of Scorsese. These two men are running an operation on corruption, extortion, and intimidation that would make Al Capone jealous. Let's start with Russ Vought. Russ Vaught's entire existence, his reason for being, is to cut every program the American people can possibly rely on so that the billionaires who fund his work can get another tax cut. Money goes to him, money goes back to them, none of it goes to you. Pure corruption. But it's not enough for Russ Vought to just funnel billions to his backers. He has to take from you just to remind you of his power, just to bring you to heel. That's why last week he announced that he was freezing $18 billion for critical infrastructure projects in New York and New Jersey. One of them is the Hudson Tunnel Project, which is critical to our region's economy. In fact, when I asked Secretary Duffy about this at his confirmation hearing, he said it was a project of national importance, critical for our nation, not just our region. It's essential to our pursuit to bring infrastructure into the 21st century, and it supports tens of thousands of jobs. But Russell Vought decided to freeze that money out of nothing but political retribution. He decided to freeze this money because he thinks he can punish the people of New Jersey for demanding the government actually work for them, for demanding that we actually work to lower costs. It doesn't just stop at New Jersey. He froze billions in dollars for transit projects in Chicago and more than $8 billion in Department of Energy projects in states across the country just because those states voted for Democrats in the last election. Didn't try to stop those exact types of projects in states that voted for Donald Trump in the last election. Russell Vought acts like a mob boss because he thinks he can use his levers of government to funnel money to his friends and take away your services when you've gotten out of line. Last week, I went to New Jersey for a day and heard from my constituents about how they're seeing this shutdown. And one woman said something that really stuck out to me. Because I asked her, if you had a chance to be able to say one thing to Donald Trump and these Republican negotiators, what would it be? And this was an independent voter. She said, I would want to tell them that it's our money. It's the American people's money, not Trump's personal bank account. She's absolutely right. This isn't Russell Vought's money to take away whenever he pleases. We've seen him do that through something called rescissions, something that completely ignores the framework our founding fathers put in place nearly 250 years ago. That Congress, on the behalf of you, the people, decide how your money is spent. And when that decision is made on behalf of you, your money can't be overturned and taken away simply because a single bureaucratic mob boss decides to exercise his power. It's not just taking money away. We need to remember that this isn't Russ Vought's money to use as a tool to extort his imagined enemies into following his orders. We need to remember that this is your money, it's your government, and it should work for you. But right now, the Trump administration isn't working for you. It's working to grow and consolidate its own power. And that brings us to our second mob boss, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller thinks he's the enforcer. He thinks it's his job to defeat Donald Trump's enemies. And again, like Russell Vought, he doesn't seem to see himself as a public servant. He's not even here to make your family safer or to protect your country. Let's look at how Stephen Miller operates as a mob boss. Stephen Miller and this administration have taken the issue of our broken immigration system, and instead of working to actually fix it, they've used it as an excuse to rapidly militarize parts of our government and deploy them against our own people in our own cities, in our own towns. It starts with going after criminals, people who should actually be sought after and detained, but that's not where it stops. We have seen thousands of American service members sent into American cities. We have as many National Guard, we have as many Americans in uniform here in Washington, D.C. than we do in Iraq. We have seen American weapons of war, including Black Hawk helicopters, used against Americans in places like Chicago. And we have seen Miller and other members of this administration effectively call anyone who simply disagrees with them terrorists, including the Democratic Party, while calling for the use of state power to dismantle them. Now, I want to reflect on that phrase for a moment, state power. Stephen Miller isn't talking about using the power of our government to make your lives better or work for you. He's not talking about using it to make your neighborhoods safer. He's talking about using it against you if you get out of line. He's talking about using it against anyone who disagrees with this administration, for anyone who stands in their way. We know that because Donald Trump has basically told us so. He told a room of all of his nation's top military officials, seemingly convened only to show he had the power to do so, that they should prepare for a, quote, war from within. He told the leaders of the most powerful military in the history of the world to prepare to battle the, quote, enemy from within. That means Americans at home. And again, we know that because Donald Trump has said it. In the same convening, he said he wants to use American cities as training grounds for the military. American cities, places where we live, where we go to work, where we bring our our kids to school. That is where Donald Trump wants to exercise power over you. We have the finest military in the world. The purpose of that military is to defend our Constitution, to defend the American people, to deter our enemies and be prepared to fight them if necessary. The American people are not that enemy, and deploying our military in America's streets weakens our readiness to defend against real threats. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and this administration will keep finding new excuses to seize power and threaten to use it against you. In the words of a federal judge, one that Trump appointed, ours, quote, is a nation of constitutional law, not martial law. And the actions of the Trump administration, quote, risk blurring the lines between civil and military federal power to the detriment of this nation. We are seeing this administration launch military strikes against individuals from Venezuela with no legal authorization or justification. We're seeing this administration, Mr. Miller specifically, call legal decisions that he doesn't like, quote, an organized terrorist attack. We're seeing this administration use intimidation and violence as tools not to make us safer, as if that was ever acceptable, but to make us submit. At the end of the day, that is this administration's aim, submission. Like every mob boss, they want you to kiss the ring. They want your loyalty, but not just that, they want your fealty. And the things they don't understand is that Americans don't bend the knee. We don't kiss the ring. We don't pledge loyalty to a boss. This is the people's government. It's not a tool for corruption. It's not a tool for extortion. It's not a tool for intimidation and violence. It is a tool for growing opportunity and prosperity. It is a tool for providing security and freedom. And it's a tool for everyone, not just the bosses. So yes, we need to work to reopen our government. And in doing so, we need to make sure that people don't drown under a wave of rising healthcare costs. But we can't lose sight that this isn't the only fight we've got in front of us. President Trump has handed power to Russ Vought and Stephen Miller, and they've used that power to take away your opportunities, your security, and your freedoms. When we reopen the government, we need to fight to make sure it's working for you, the American people. You deserve better than to live under the thumb of mob bosses. We're going to fight every day to make sure that you can. Thank you, and I yield back.
Making it. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a very big signing today having to do with Alaska, a place that I'm very familiar with. And we're making it greater, bigger, and more powerful, and job producing. It's an economic gold mine, so to speak. And I signed this years ago, and Biden unsigned it for me. This was something that should have been long operating and making billions of dollars for our country and supplying a lot of energy and minerals and everything else that we're talking about. And they undid it and wasted a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort. And now we're starting again. And this time we have plenty of time to get it done, and it's going to be done properly. I'd like to ask your Department of Interior head, who has done a fantastic job, Doug Burgum, to say a few words about it, and we'll go to Chris after you and anybody else that wants to say something. And it's a very powerful deal, very, very big deal from the standpoint of minerals and energy. So thank you all for being here. Doug, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, President Trump. Yesterday is a historic day. President Trump, as he promised when he was running in the election to the American people, that he was going to unlock the potential of this country. He was going to unlock America's mineral wealth. He was going to generate returns for American people. And he was going to importantly bolster the critical supply chains around critical minerals for our country. On day one, He signed in a very important executive order, Unleashing Alaska's Extraordinary Resource Potential. And this is part of the continuation. There's a number of things that have already happened with Alaska that are moving forward. There's more to come, but big milestone today. In reversing this Biden era decision about the Ambler Road, this is a 211-mile long road that begins over 200 miles north of Fairbanks off the Hall Road that goes up to the North Slope. This road goes through an area where there's no roads. Ambler Mining District at the end of that has some of the richest mining deposits in all of America and in all of the world. And these are minerals that are absolutely essential to defense, to industry moving forward today. Just take copper alone. This is one of the richest copper locations in the country. And of course, today to build a data center, you can have tens of thousands of tons of copper required for that. Even a single family home today may have as much as 400 pounds of copper in a home. And we have, as a nation, in the past, have basically gotten out of the mineral in energy and mining area. President Trump, when he said drill baby drill, he also was mine baby mine. We've got to get back in the mining business. China controls 85 to 100% of all the mining and refining of the top 20 critical minerals. And in this mine area up there, we got copper, lead, zinc, gold, silver, gallium, germanium. So rich in all of the minerals that we need to win the AI arms race against China and to prosper as a country. And so again, today, this was his history being made. When some of this was set aside in 1980 by Jimmy Carter, there was a special authority created for presidents to decide if there was a dispute. And so for the first time in history, a president is actually using that authority, President Trump, as he does, using his authority for the benefit of the American people. And the appeal came in from the state of Alaska asking that this road be built. Alaska's not a colony, they're a state. They have an opportunity to build roads like any other state. With this signing, President Trump, Alaska can go ahead and build this road. It'll be a toll road, not a public road. It's a toll road, so it'll be controlled in terms of traffic. It's a gravel road. It'll be sensitive to the environment. There'll be collaboration with the Native Alaskan corporations in terms of how it's built and how it's used, supporting the Alaskan Native tribes with subsistence hunting regulations on either side of this. But this opens up a wealth of resources. In addition, there's going to be an announcement made later today that is part of this announcement that the Department of War, the United States government is making an investment
Senator from
in Trilogy
Nebraska.
Minerals. They're one of the companies that has mining claims in this area that is a remote wilderness right now.
Us nervous.
And again,
but
making
earlier
that
this year, I
investment.
took a step back to look at the bigger economic picture, and I became one of the first members of Congress to support the administration's effort to level the playing field on trade. I've said many times that the administration deserves time to secure strong trade deals that benefit Americans. However, the reality is this: farmers are targeted by other countries like China. I've seen it firsthand back home in Nebraska. Producers of corn, soybeans, and other top commodities, they are under crushing pressure. Rising input costs and uncertainty have driven farm finances to levels reminiscent of the 1980s crisis, which bankrupted thousands, and it hollowed out our rural communities. Since 2020, seed costs have jumped 18%. Fuel and oil are up 32%. Fertilizer has spiked 37%, and interest expenses have surged an alarming 73%. Our soybean producers are projected to lose about $100 an acre this year. On top of that, storage costs for soybeans and corn have risen steeply. For everybody, this is crippling, and it's happening during one of the largest harvests in memory. Madam President, time is running out, and we need to turn this around. We need a strong and positive set of actions. Ensuring our farmers can weather tough economic times must be a national priority. It's clear that farm aid is needed at this time. Congress has taken some steps towards this goal. We passed $10 billion in farm aid last December, and we included a major boost for producers in July's reconciliation law. However, that money is not going to reach any farmers until next fall, and producers need to have relief right now. But here's the challenge. We also need lasting, long-term solutions that help provide stability and real opportunity for ag producers. That's why one of the fastest ways we can deliver results is by unlocking year-round access to E15, a clean, American-made biofuel. Permanent nationwide access would increase corn demand by 2.5 billion bushels a year. It would lower gas prices for families, and it would drive new revenue into rural communities. President Trump's day one order to promote E15 through his National Energy Emergency Declaration, that was a strong start. But temporary fixes, they don't cut it. That's why I reintroduced my nationwide Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act earlier this year. When I first introduced this bill nearly a decade ago, it felt like an uphill climb. Well, today, momentum is finally on our side. We have strong bipartisan support. We have new industry partners, including members of the oil and refining sector who are at the table. And this is a key piece of Republicans' plan to lower energy costs, to strengthen American production, and to give consumers more choices at the pump. Trade, well, that's the other half of the equation. Former President Biden's lack of a clear trade agenda left America with a $49 billion trade deficit, undercutting farmers in Nebraska and all across this country. President Trump, you can help reverse that deficit by holding China accountable and ensuring American-grown soybeans have access to global markets, a lifeline for farmers facing losses this harvest season. President Trump has already made progress on this trade front. Take beef. Australia has sold nearly $29 billion worth of beef to US consumers, while American ranchers have been locked out of their market. Do you know how much beef, American beef, Australia bought? Zero. Now we need the same kind of breakthrough by opening up a market for soybeans and corn and every other American crop. At the end of the day, farmers and ranchers want programs that work, and we want markets to sell our products. Madam President, simply put, we just want a fair shot. By securing strong trade deals and building new markets through year-round E15, we can revitalize the farm economy. We can bolster United States energy security, and we can ensure that America's producers can keep feeding and fueling this nation for generations to come. Thank you, Madam President. Yield the floor.
so we can make sure that we're securing these critical mineral supplies, and that ownership in that company will benefit the American people. With that, I'll kick it over to Chris Wright.
Thank you, Doug, and what a huge thank you to the President today. This
Senator
is a
from Nebraska.
tremendous achievement.
Madam President,
for the
I
people of
ask
Alaska.
unanimous
We were in
consent
the
that
North
it be in
Slope of
order
Alaska
for the
a few
two
months ago,
leaders to enter
celebrating energy
motions to
development there.
reconsider
They want jobs
without
and opportunity
being
to
on the
develop the
prevailing
resources on
side
their
with
lands.
respect to the
This is
cloture
another
votes
major step
on the
forward.
motion to
We say
proceed
energy
to
is the
S 2882 and HR 5371. Further, that mandatory quorum calls with respect to S 2882, HR 5371, and the en bloc nominations provided for under the provisions of S Res 412 be waived.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.
Minerals and metals, they're the skeletal infrastructure, the physical upholding of everything we do. Everywhere we walk and operate, your cameras, everything you hold are made out of metals and minerals. President Biden thought it was appropriate to offshore both of these industries outside of our country. That has not left us in a strong place. President Trump, in his first term and even more strongly in his second term, is bringing those industries back to our country. America was a mining powerhouse for a long, long time, and our mining industry got squelched. Now we're seeing it come back to life. You saw the president's truth not long ago about a deal for lithium production in Nevada just a week or so ago. This will more than tenfold increase American lithium production. And this infrastructure, this mining road in the Ambler Mining District, will just have immense impact on future mining opportunities for our country's security and economic opportunities for the people of Alaska. Our critical minerals and mining expert within the administration is standing right next to me, David Copley. I'll see if he wants to add any words.
This is a really big deal for the American mining industry, and I think it shows the president's seriousness about getting this industry going, and making sure we have the critical minerals we need for our defense industrial base and for our broader economy.
Thank you very much. And I think we want to get this going by a certain time, so I signed it. And Will, I'm going to give it to you, and you get it filed. And
Sir.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
It's a big job. Thank you very much. So we created a great deal of wealth for that part of the world and that part of our country by doing this long, very difficult road to build, and we'll be talking about that sometime later. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for the people of our country and for the taxpayers of our country. And if you have any questions on that, let me know, Steve.
For the road to be constructed, how quickly will that get underway?
Well, this road, as an industrial road, it'll have ownership. It'll likely be split between the state of Alaska, the federal government, and the Native Alaska corporations. We would expect that construction would begin next spring with planning throughout this winter. The 211-mile long road will be a gravel road with a solid design base to handle the weight of the trucks that are going in and out. This is typical design that far north. Because asphalt with a freeze-thaw cycle, very difficult with asphalt or concrete. So gravel, a fantastic gravel road is going to have the least impact on the environment, going to be the best suited purpose. Alaska's done this in the past with the Red Dog mine. They built a toll road that, again, has ownership. The companies that use the road pay to transit that road. So this is an economic model used around the world in mining districts. We'll apply it right here. And again, it's going to generate revenue for the American people and for the citizens of Alaska as opposed to a cost.
And also 2 bridges. We're going to build 2 bridges that will be able to complete, and we'll get them up very quickly.
And how long to complete? I mean, 211 miles, that's a lot.
Yes, we'll get it done in less than a year.
It's going to come in three phases. The first road, as President Trump said, will go quickly, which is they call it a pilot road. We'll build a single lane gravel road through the full duration of it. That'll be then expanded to a second phase and then a third phase over time. But again, we want to get that pilot road built because then we can help get materials back to help the mine get started quickly as well.
Mr. President, there's negotiations happening with your team in Egypt right now over your proposed peace plan. It was reported by Axios over the weekend that you had called with Prime Minister Netanyahu, where you told him to stop being so negative and to take the win when it came to Hamas's response to that. Is that true? And
no, it's not true. He's been very positive. He's been very positive on the deal. Everybody is. I think every nation is. We have just about every nation working on this deal and trying to get it done. Something that you could say 3,000 years if you look at it in certain ways, or you could say centuries, but this is a deal that incredibly everyone just came together. They all came together. No, Israel's been great. They've all been good, Caitlin.
And in the negotiations, do you have any red lines in terms of Hamas disarming and whatnot? Are there any places you're willing to do?
If certain things aren't met, we're not going to do it. But I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important.
Mr. President, on the government shutdown, Mr. President, if the vote today fails in the Senate, will that trigger layoffs?
It could. At some point it will. And, the Democrats are the ones that started this. And if you think about it, it's about health care to a large extent. It's about we want great health care for people. We don't want to give the money away to other people that come pouring into our country. And they've already poured it because nobody's coming into our country. Now we have the border totally stopped. In fact, numbers we just announced again, we're at another zero. So we have zero for 4 months in a row. 0 people coming into our country illegally. That's a pretty good number. I'm not sure even I can believe that, Doug, if you want to know the truth. 0. We went from millions of people to 0, but it's pretty close to that number. And the way you stop them is not to give away, not to announce that you're giving everybody free health care, free this and that. But what that does, it affects the American people because the American people are unable to get good health care. Obamacare has been a wreck, as you know, and to do that, we have to keep it propped up and do the best you can with it. It's a mess. But a lot of things are going on in that. We talk about Hamas, then we talk about negotiations that we have going on right now. We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things.
What kind of
and I'm talking about good things with regard to health care.
Are you speaking with Democratic leaders? What kind of negotiations?
Well, I don't want to say that. But we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care.
Would you make a deal with them on the ACA subsidies?
If we made the right deal, I'd make a deal, sure.
So you
have right now subsidies. You have subsidies. That's the problem with Obamacare. The subsidies are so much. It's billions and billions of dollars is being wasted. And we can have a much better health care than we have right now. And we're talking to them. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen because this has also been going on, not for 3,000 years, but it's been going on for a long time. But yeah, we're talking to the Democrats.
You would work to make a deal with them on.
I'd like to see a deal made for great health care. Yeah, I want to see great health. I'm a Republican, but I want to see health care much more so than the Democrats.
So, Mr. President, on all of this, as you know, the American people are experiencing a lot of pain with any kind of government shutdown. And while you're dealing with Democrats, of course, Republicans are standing their ground. What is your message directly to the American people who may encounter some of this pain and despair? Yeah. How do you give them hope?
Well, up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain. There could be a great deal of pain, but up till now, there hasn't been. I will say this, just hang in there because I think a lot of good things are going to happen. That's all I can say. I mean, I think a lot of good things could happen, and that could also pertain to health care.
Mr. President,
I've seen a surge in attacks on ICE agents across the country, including the shooting in Dallas and over the weekend in Chicago. We saw 10 cars boxing in on ICE agents and another one ramming into an ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
We have heard Secretary Noem saying that some of these attackers are actually organized and they're planning to kill and ambush these officers.
Right.
What are the consequences for you?
Very severe. We're going to have very severe. We're going to find out who's going after our federal agents. So when you look at Chicago, they've had probably 50 murders in the last 6 or 7 months, 8 months. Many, many people shot, like 30, 40, 50 people shot. didn't die, but they've been shot. It's like a war zone. And then I listen to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't. It's probably worse than almost any city in the world. You could go to Afghanistan. You can go to a lot of different places, and they probably marvel at how much crime we have. Then you go to Memphis, where we are right now. Now, it's just like in Washington, D.C. right now. You people know better than I do because you have to live right inside. And so many of the press have come to me. They've said, I can't believe it. It's changed so much. We have a safe city in Washington. Memphis will very soon have a safe city. Chicago can be very, very safe. It's going to be very safe. But Chicago is going to be very safe. And you say, why is it that a governor wouldn't accept free help from regardless? I mean, whether it's National Guard or the military or anybody. I mean, if women raped and beaten and knocked to hell, and the same with men where they're being shot all over the place in large numbers. I mean, we had a week in Chicago where 11 people were murdered and 38 people were shot. And then we have a governor get up and say, oh, it's safe. We can handle it. He can't handle it. He's an incompetent guy. That's why they threw him out of the family business. They threw him out. I knew the family business very well. And they threw him out. And now he's a governor. And he should say, we'd love to have a safer place. Chicago's a great city potentially. You know, I told you the head of the Union Pacific Railroad said, sir, save Chicago. It's a great city. It's going to be lost if you don't do it. We have no choice but to do this. And when judges give us rulings that, you know, you don't have to do it, Portland is on fire. Portland's been on fire for years. And not so much saving it. We have to save something else because I think that's all insurrection. I really think that's really criminal insurrection. So I appreciate the question. These are unsafe places. We're going to make them safe. So you see what's going on in Memphis. Not pretty, but you know what? We're doing a pretty job because it's going to be a very safe place in a little while. And the people of Memphis are so happy that we're there. And the people of Chicago. So you have black women with MAGA hats on in Chicago, all over the place. They want the guard to come in, or they don't care who comes in. They just want to be safe. And they really don't care. You know, there was one woman, and she was great today. She said, you know what? I don't care if it's the National Guard, the Army, the Marines, the Air Force. I don't care who comes in as long as we're safe. And that's the way most of the public feels. We're going to make Chicago really great again. And we're going to stop this crime. Then we're going to go to another one, and we're going to go city by city. We're going to have safe cities. And it was so great that we started with our nation's capital, one of the worst. I mean, so many people, every week, somebody was killed. They'd come from Iowa. They'd come from Indiana. They want to see the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial. They want to see something, and they'd get shot. And you'd call their parents, I'm sorry, but your son is dead. And they go, what do you mean he's dead? Came to Washington, D.C. Not anymore. That's not happening anymore. We have a safe place. We have a safe capital. It's as safe as we have probably almost just about in the country. And if you look back 6 months ago, 7 months ago, this was a death trap. You look back during the Biden, I mean, what they did, how badly they managed things. And almost all of these cities, most of these cities are Democrat run. And we don't care, Democrat, Republican, we're going to make them safe. So we have to save Chicago. It's very important. And you can't have a governor getting up and saying it's good when 11 people were shot over a weekend. What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary. But we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe. And it's turning out, and we started with D.C. It's been so successful. Think of it. People wouldn't go to restaurants. The restaurants were closing. We were losing a lot of restaurants, as you all know. And now restaurants are opening and they're thriving. And I went 2 weeks ago and it was great. I'm going to go again. I felt very safe, very safe. Forgetting about guards and Secret Service, and I would have gone. It would have been very safe. D.C. is a great, and look at the cleanliness of D.C. Look at how it's clean. You don't have tents all over the place. We had parks where you couldn't even walk through the park. You had people from tents, and they were violent people. Some of these people were violent people. We have a great, safe capital again. And if you look at it in 6 months from now, it'll be the most beautiful anywhere in the world. It's being cleaned. The graffiti's all gone now. The tents are all gone. We have a capital that you can be proud of, but it'll only get better with time.
Mr. President, tomorrow is October 7th, the 2-year anniversary of the original Israeli attack. Do you expect a Gaza deal tomorrow, or any sort of hostage deal tomorrow?
I think we're going to have a deal. It's a hard thing for me to say that when for years and years they've been trying to have a deal with Gaza, but literally for centuries. Okay, if you really think about it. But we're going to have a Gaza deal, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And what is your talks about the talks?
Well, I'm the one that got the hostages back. Remember that, I'm the one that.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I got them back.
Israeli citizens
Support the motion to
celebrating
invoke
what
cloture.
you've accomplished
Yeah.
in this deal.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the standing rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the motion to proceed to calendar number 167S2882, a bill making continuing appropriations for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that the debate on the motion to proceed to S2882, a bill making continuing appropriations for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, and for other purposes, shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt.
No.
Mr. Budd. Ms. Cantwell. Mrs. Capito. Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Kramer. Mr. Crapo. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Curtis. Mr. Daines. Ms. Duckworth. Mr. Durbin. Ms. Ernst. Mr. Betterman. Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Gallego. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Haggerty. Ms. Hassan. Mr. Hawley. Mr. Heinrich. Mr. Hickenlooper. Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lummis, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Moreno, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Markowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Sheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young.
Couldn't happen.
They're so happy about it. It's like they can't breathe. One said, "I can't breathe." It's very sad because you have hostages and you have people that are no longer living. But the parents, and I've said this to you many times, the parents want the bodies of their boy back, the bodies of their loved one back. In most cases, they're young men, and they're dead. And there's probably 32 or so, about that number. Nobody knows exactly what the number is. They want that body back as much as if their son were alive. I've been with them. Many have come to the White House, to the Oval Office. I've been with many of the people that I got released. We have a fantastic group working on it. Steve Witkoff has been amazing. I have Jared. took Jared out because Jared's a very, you don't find anybody more capable, and we have the A+ team working on it. I think we've made tremendous progress. And yeah, the people of Israel wanted to happen, but the people related to hostages, I mean, you see in Israel tens of thousands of people. They really want the hostages back, and they really want things to end. And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal, and it'll be a lasting deal. We want to have peace. This is beyond Gaza. Gaza is a big deal, but this is really peace in the Middle East. And the amazing thing is we have every Arab country, every Muslim country. We have every country surrounding. They all want. I spoke with President Erdogan of Turkey. He's fantastic. He's been pushing very hard. He's a very powerful guy, and he's been pushing very, very hard to get this deal done. And Hamas has a lot of respect for him. They have a lot of respect for Qatar. They have a lot of respect for UAE and Saudi Arabia. We have everybody is on our side to get this deal done. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen it. There's always been like 80% of them don't want something done. I think virtually we even had a very strong signal, as you know, from Iran. They'd like to see this done.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, Governor Abbott offered up the Texas National Guard to you. Have you had any other conversations with other red state governors?
They're willing to offer. Every one of them is willing to offer whatever we need. We thank Governor Abbott of Texas. Every one of the red state, as you call them, red state governors is willing to give whatever we need because they want our agents protected. You know, these ICE agents have a tough job. They have to go in and get, in many cases, stone cold criminals, hardened criminals, long-time criminals. And every essentially Republican governor has offered up whatever we need. And some Democratic governors also. Daniel?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. A quick question on the subject of the order. The Biden administration, previously speaking, they shut down Alaska for business. You reversed that, reversed it on day one. You opened it up, going after all the critical minerals. This mission of yours, Secretary Burgum, Secretary White, to boost our own independent production of critical minerals, rare earths. Can you just talk about how important that is over the next 4 years, sir?
Well, it's very necessary. You know, in the past, we were able to go to other countries, buy whatever we want. But all of a sudden, if those countries are hostile, and by the way, China hasn't been. We've made deals with China. You know, they approved the TikTok deal. Everyone said you'd never get the TikTok deal approved. They approved it, and we have great people buying it. Big, strong American companies are buying it, the most prestigious companies there are, actually, and they're going to make sure everything's good. But President Xi was great. He approved it. So I'm not saying hostile, but it's good to have our own minerals. And, you know, we created tremendous value by creating a road. We build a road that only we can do because we have the rights to do it, number one, and we have the power to do it. And so we build a road that's over 200 miles long through a very beautiful area of the world. Actually, it's incredible. When you look at it, it's incredible, but a rough area from the standpoint of building. So we get a road done. And with that, we unleash billions and billions of dollars of wealth. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. And it's wealth that we need if we're going to be the number one country. You know, we're number one now with AI. You probably read. We're beating everybody with AI at levels that nobody ever thought even possible. And one of the reasons we are is because of energy. So our grid is old and tired, like most grids are. They get old with time. I mean, you know, the older you are, the older the grid gets, right? But I've allowed the people building AI or other plants, other types of plants, but AI in particular, because they need so much electricity, I've allowed them to build their own power. And it's been amazing. They're building massive plants, and with the plant, they're building their own electricity. They've become a utility in a sense. I said, maybe you'll do better with the utility than you do with the AI. I don't know. But we're letting them build their own electricity. So we don't have to worry about the grid. We don't have to worry about anything. And they're going to build it in such a way that if they have excess capacity, they're going to put it back into the grid. It's pretty amazing. So when they build, we're giving them permits to build their own electric power plants. And it's incredible when you see what they're doing. And because of that and other things that we're doing, we're leading every country. Nobody's even close to us with AI. And AI seems to be the big thing. I don't know. I can't tell you that. There are a lot of people building, and a lot of people have high stock prices because of AI. So a lot of people think it's great stuff. And I think it's great stuff. I look at it, it's amazing what it can do. In terms of medical costs, in terms of knowledge, it's basically information, and information at a level that nobody thought possible before. So we'll see. But they're building plants where you saw the one overlay that I did where, in this case, it's Meta. One of their plants is essentially almost the size of Manhattan. And that's a building, it's a building that covers Manhattan. So it's big stuff. And nobody's even close to us. We're leading AI by so much.
Mr. President, yeah,
go ahead, please.
Since the start of your administration, we've seen a lot more Americans wanting to join ICE. And as we're seeing more attacks on them right now, what's your message to rank and file ICE agents who are trying to do their jobs but are facing 1,000% increase in attacks?
I love your questions, I like you. So who are you with?
I'm with NTD.
Very good.
I was the one who got mugged.
You were the one, that's what I thought. You got mugged. You're not getting mugged anymore. She was really, you're lucky to be with us with that deal that happened. I know all about that. Not anymore, though. You feel a different world out there, right?
Totally. You're safe with the baby now.
Oh, good. Well, you're safe now. Nobody's going to be hurting you in any way.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court today.
Thank you. So the bottom line on your question, we're just going to make things real safe. We're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a country that you read about every day where somebody gets mugged from behind or hit over the head with a baseball bat. Those people aren't with us any longer. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. On today's call with Lula from Brazil,
Yeah.
are you considering lowering tariffs after the call?
Well, I had a great talk with the president of Brazil, who's a good man. I met him actually at the United Nations. I was going up to make a speech and I didn't have a teleprompter. I was walking up to my teleprompter. I said, I don't have a teleprompter. But just before that, I met with President Lula and I found him to be very good. I mean, we had a very good talk for about, 2 minutes. And then I went up to make a speech and I was surprised to see, how would you like that one, Doug? I've got every leader in the world sitting out there. My teleprompter isn't on. You know why, Daniel? Because it was a rigged deal. But fortunately, I made a better speech than I would have if I read it off a teleprompter, which is pretty easy to do. So it was quite a day. That was a big day. But we met and we liked each other. And we had a great conversation. We'll start doing business.
And are you considering traveling to Brazil for COP30?
At some point, I would, and he's going to come here. We talked about that.
And a follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and deporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some.
Well, she's just a troublemaker. I mean, she's no longer into the environment now. She's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah, please.
The Supreme Court is back in its term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted.
Senators voting in the affirmative.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for
Padilla,
it.
Peters, Reed, Wyden. Senators voting in the negative. Banks, Barrasso, Britt, Capito, Ernst, Fisher, Husted, Lummis, Marshall, McCormick, Moreno, Paul, Wicker. Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins, no. Ms. Hassan, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, no. Mr. Crapo, no. Mr. Kelly, aye. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, no. Ms. Smith, aye. Mr. Kramer, no. Mr. Justice, no. Mr. Sheehy, no. Mr. Rounds, no. Mr. Risch, no. Ms. Duckworth, aye. Mrs. Hyde Smith, no. Mr. Van Hollen, aye. Mr. Cassidy, no. Mr. Grassley, no. Mr. Tuberville, no. Mr. Cornyn, no. Mrs. Shaheen, aye. Mrs. Blackburn, no. Ms. Blunt Rochester, Ms. Blunt Rochester, aye. Mr. Cotton, no. Mr. Blumenthal, aye. Mr. Johnson, no. Mrs. Moody, no. Mr. Ossoff, aye. Mr. Moran, no. Mr. Langford, no. Mr. Daines, no. Mr. Hickenlooper, aye. Mr. Mullen, no. Ms. Hirono, aye. Mr. Thune, no. Mr. Ricketts, no. Mr. Fetterman, aye. Mr. Graham, no. Mr. Haggerty, no. Mr. Budd, no. Mr. Coons, aye. Ms. Cortez Masto, aye. Mr. Cruz, no.
How close are we?
Mr. Markey, aye. Mr. Booker, aye. Mr. Bozeman, no. Mr. Murphy, aye. Mr. Bennett, aye. Mr. Schmidt, no. Mr. Schatz, aye. Mr. Sanders, aye. Mrs. Murray, aye. Ms. Baldwin, aye. Ms. Warren, aye. Mr. Warner, aye. Mr. Ship, aye. Mr. Lee, no. Mr. Welch, aye. Ms. Markowski, Ms. Markowski, no. Ms. Klobuchar, Ms. Klobuchar, aye. Mr. Young, Mr. Young, no. Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Whitehouse, aye. Mr. Durbin, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand, Mrs. Gillibrand, aye. Mr. Hawley, no. Mr. Hoven, Mr. Hoven, no. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan, no. Miss Alsobrooks, Miss Alsobrooks, aye. Mr. McConnell, Mr. McConnell, no. Mr. Gallego. Mr. Gallego, aye. Mr. Warnock. Mr. Warnock, aye. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer, aye. Ms. Slotkin, aye. All right.
On this vote, the yeas are 45, the nays are 50. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative, the motion is not agreed to. The clerk will report the motion to a vote cloture.
Cloture motion, we, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the motion to proceed to calendar number 168, H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the motion to proceed to H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for the fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy, Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Grimm, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono, Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Langford, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lummis, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: Britt, Budd, Cornyn, Cotton, Cruz, Daines, Fisher, Graham, Hawley, Husted, Hyde Smith, Langford, McConnell, Mullen, Ricketts, Sullivan, Tuberville, Wicker, and Young. Senators voting in the negative: Baldwin, Blumenthal, Blunt Rochester, Cantwell, Coons, Duckworth, Durbin, Gallego, Hassan, Hickenlooper, Kane, Kelly, Lujan, Merkley, Murphy, Murray, Hall, Reed, Sanders, Schiff, Slotkin, Warner, Warren, Welch, Whitehouse, and Wyden. Mr. Ossoff, no. Mr. Peters, no. Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Fetterman, aye. Ms. Klobuchar, no. Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Schatz, no. Ms. Collins, aye. Mr. Padilla, no. Ms. Hirono, no. Mr. Rounds, aye. Ms. Murkowski, aye. Mr. Kim, no. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Risch, aye. Mr. Grassley, Mr. Grassley, aye. Mrs. Gillibrand, Mrs. Gillibrand, no. Ms. Ernst, aye. Mr. Hoven, aye. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Kramer, aye. Mrs. Capito, aye. Mr. Markey, no. Mr. Moran, aye. Ms. Alsobrooks, no. Mr. Banks, aye. Mr. Haggerty, aye. Mr. Marino, Mr. Marino, aye. Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schmidt, aye. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. McCormick, Mr. McCormick, aye. Mr. Marshall, Mr. Marshall, aye. Ms. Lummis, Ms. Lummis, aye. Mr. Crapo, Mr. Crapo, aye. Mr. Bozeman, Mr. Bozeman, aye. Mrs. Blackburn, Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Scott of Florida, aye. Mrs. Moody, Mrs. Moody, aye. Mr. Scott of South Carolina, aye. Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mr. Justice, Mr. Justice, aye. Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, aye. Mr. King, aye. Mrs. Shaheen, no. Ms. Cortez Masto, aye. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Schumer, no. Mr. Sheehy, aye.
On this vote, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 42. 3/5 of the Senate duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to.
Mr. President, I enter a motion to reconsider.
The motion is entered. Democratic leader.
I enter a motion to reconsider the cloture vote on the motion to proceed to calendar S 2882, calendar 167.
The motion is entered. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion, we, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate and the provisions of SRES 412 from the 119th Congress, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on executive calendar numbers 62, 86, off, 92,
Mr. President,
126.
I ask consent to waive the reading of the numbers.
Without objection.
Signed by 17 senators.
With consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the unblocked nominations provided for under the provisions of SRES 412 shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso. Thank you. Mr. Bennett. Crapo Cassidy. Yes, sir. Senator Kane. Thank you. Ossoff, Kelly, Haggerty, gotcha. Smith. Warnock, Black. I got you.
I was advocating.
Thank you. Thank you. Who? Who? Thank you. I did get you. Thank you. Got you both. Got you both. Got you both. I got you. Yep. Thank you. I got you.
We voting for this?
Yeah, you're voting for it. Thank you. Mr. Houston. Okay. You're a no. You're a no. Thank you. I did. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Blackburn. Mr. Blumenthal. Ms. Blunt Rochester. Mr. Booker. Mr. Bozeman. Mrs. Britt. Mr. Budd. Ms. Cantwell. They got you. Got him. Got him. Ms. Cantwell. Mrs. Capito. Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer.
You can go if you want. Yeah, you voted already?
Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis. Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman,
Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Gallego, Mrs. Gillibrand, Mr. Graham, Mr. Grassley, Mr. Haggerty, Ms. Hassan, Mr. Hawley, Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Hickenlooper, Ms. Hirono. I didn't get you. Thank you. Mr. Hoven, Mr. Husted, Mrs. Hyde-Smith, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kane, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kim, Mr. King, Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Lankford, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Lummis, Mr. Markey, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino. Yep. Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan,
Made a decision, pretty much.
Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis,
Be considered. Yeah, I think I want to find
Mr.
out what they're
Tuberville,
doing
Mr.
with
Van
them.
Hollen, Mr. Warner,
You know,
Mr.
where are they
Warnock,
sending them?
Ms.
I guess
Warren,
I'd have to ask that question. That
Mr.
war
Welch, Mr.
should
Whitehouse,
never have
Mr.
started.
Wicker,
Would have never started.
Mr.
Such
Wyden,
bad judgment was used there.
Mr.
I think on
Young.
both sides, by the way. But nobody looks good with the war with Russia and Ukraine. Nobody. It's been a horrible. This week they lost over 7,000 soldiers between the two of them. This is every week they're losing 7,000, 8,000, 5,000.
Senators voting in the affirmative. Barrasso, Bozeman, Britt.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. I'm not looking to see escalation.
Yes. And tomorrow you're meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. What's on the agenda for that?
Well, I guess he's going to ask about tariffs because a lot of companies from Canada are moving into the United States. You know, everybody's moving back into the U.S. and he's probably going to be asking about tariffs. They're losing a lot of companies in Canada. They're coming into they left here. They left here 20 years ago when presidents that sat right at this desk weren't doing their job properly. They were probably good politicians, but they weren't good at business, and they allowed these companies to leave. And all they had to do is do what I'm doing right now. And, you know, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to do, but it is. It's effective. We're a rich country again. We're a powerful country because, you know, I've ended 7 wars. At least half of them was because of my ability at trade and because of tariffs. If I didn't have tariffs to throw around a little bit, you would have at least 4 wars raging right now with thousands of people a day being killed that aren't happening. We settled. You know, we settled 7. We're getting close to settling 8. That would be a big one. And that's something that could happen. But so I think he's coming probably to talk about tariffs because a lot of companies are leaving Canada to come into the U.S. And they're leaving Mexico. And by the way, they're leaving China. They're leaving all over the world to come into the U.S. Nobody's actually seen anything like it.
Would you shift your position on tariffs in response to whatever?
Well, I mean, look, my positions turned out to, everybody said I'm right. They find billions of dollars that they didn't even know they had. Recently, they said they found billions of dollars and they couldn't understand. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they come in the next hour and they said, sir, you're right. It was from the tariffs. We're a rich, really rich country again. But more importantly, maybe influence. If I didn't have the power of tariffs, you would have at least 4 of the 7 wars raging. I use tariffs to stop wars. If you look at India and Pakistan, they were ready to go at it. 7 planes we shot down. They were ready to go at it. And they're nuclear powers. And I don't want to say exactly what I said, but what I said was very effective. They stopped. And that was based on tariffs. It was based on trade. Tariffs are very important for the United States. We are a peacekeeper because of tariffs. Not only do we make, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars, but we're a peacekeeper because of tariffs.
On the shutdown, Mr. President, the shutdown that occurred during your first term lasted 35 days.
Yeah.
How long do you expect this shutdown to go?
Well, you don't know. Look, I can say this, that it would have not happened except for the Democrats. The Democrats are very foolish. They've lost their way. And we have a new thing now. When you look at, it's called crime. It's called absolute, as Biden would say, well, I won't say what he would have said. Remember what he said? It's a 3-letter word. No. Remember that one? Everyone saying, what was that all about? He probably meant exclamation point or something after the word. But this is a 5-letter word, crime, C-R-I-M-E. And we want to put it out and are putting it out. And they don't seem to care about it, but they do care. I believe that Pritzker and this mayor of Chicago that like to say about they don't have it under control. Not only is it not under control, it's the opposite. And I believe they're afraid. They're scared for their lives. I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole. And then you have a judge that lost her way, that tries to pretend that like there's no problem. Actually, she's not even saying that. There's a huge problem in Portland. I'll tell you what the problem is, crime. Okay, crime. It's a huge problem in Chicago. It's called crime. And we want to put out the crime, and they want to inflame the crime. And why they want to, I don't know. But it could be that Pritzker is scared for his life. Yeah.
You appointed that judge on the UN. Do you have an update on the investigation into what happened to you after the UN last month? And also, what's your message to Americans who are concerned about your and your family's safety as you're very out in public attending?
Yeah, I am out there. There's no question about it. Well, at the UN, we had a problem with the teleprompter. We had another problem that nobody has actually talked about. The people in the room didn't hear my speech. Did you know that? The people in the room, they didn't have any loudspeakers, and they didn't hear my speech. And I thought I made a really good speech. I mean, considering I didn't have the use of teleprompter, which is unusual. But I made a speech. I could have walked off the stage. I guess most people, Doug, I think most people would have just said, we'll see you in about a half an hour, right? But, they obviously turned off I think they turned off the teleprompter. But there was a reason that it didn't work. I actually know the reason. They didn't let the teleprompter person into the room. Okay, which is essentially the same thing. So I made a speech. It turned out to be a very good speech, got good reviews. I went out to the audience after the speech. I saw my wife. I said, how good was that speech? Was that unbelievable or what? She said, I didn't hear a word you said. I said, what do you mean? She was sitting in the front. I said, what do you mean? She said, you couldn't hear anything that you said. The speakers were turned off. So I think that's pretty bad stuff, right? Especially since we support most of the United Nations. And yet I still want to keep it in New York because I think the United Nations has tremendous potential. If properly run, the United States has tremendous potential. But think of this. I settled 7 wars. I never spoke to the United Nations about it. Not one of them. You look at, and those were wars that were raging a long time. And in many cases. And I settled 7. I never heard from the United. They didn't help me. They should be able to settle the wars. I shouldn't have to be settling the wars. Yeah, please.
Last week you signed the security guarantees for Qatar.
Yeah.
Do you see any role for the Senate in that? Do they have to vote on that, or do you think?
Well, I wouldn't mind if they did. If they want to, they'd let me know. Nobody said that. But Qatar has been very, very helpful to us in this process, and I think you'll find that. I think. Maybe the most influential, very influential, very strong. With Hamas, they're very strong. And Turkey's likewise been helpful. I mean, honestly, UAE, Saudi Arabia, everybody's been helpful. I just spoke today with the King of Jordan, and he's been terrific too. I can't think of any country that's been negative about this. This is why it should happen. I mean, everybody wants it to happen. And usually when everybody, including, I think, Hamas, and when they want it to happen, it's going to happen.
James Comey is being arraigned on Wednesday, obviously after his indictment. Are you worried that your own statements calling for his prosecution could help him actually in his defense of this case?
No, I think he's a crooked guy. He's a dirty cop. Comey, I think he's a dirty cop. He's recognized by many people to be a dirty cop and dishonest guy. So all I have to do is, I mean, I have nothing to do with the case. I just say,
But you
good
called
luck.
Pam Bondi to prosecute him and oppose
No, I don't call anybody. You know what? I'm allowed to do that if I wanted to do that. But Comey's a crooked guy. He has been for years. And he got caught. Look, he lied. This is just a simple case. He totally lied. And then he confirmed the lie on, I guess, numerous occasions, or at least one occasion. He confirmed the lie. He said, that's what I said, and I stand by it. And, you know, I mean, the guy, and he didn't say, to the best of my knowledge. He didn't say, well, I don't remember. He made a very definitive statement and a very important statement concerning him. And he got caught in an outright lie. And that's why a group of people, it wasn't me that voted, they voted to indict him. But he's a crooked guy, in my opinion, and we'll find out. The court's going to determine that in a little while, I guess, yeah.
President, do you expect to announce farm relief this week?
Yeah, I'm going to do some farm stuff this weekend.
You have a
Yeah, please.
the Navy yesterday celebrating
It was
their
unbelievable.
250th. Can you talk about that? And as we get closer to America's 250th, you've initiated a prayer initiative as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about both of those events and why they're so important, particularly the prayer initiative going forward to the.
Well, we have, and we're dealing, as you know, with all of the different, and not just evangelicals, Christians. We're dealing with lots of different faiths, religions. And I've felt for a long time that, you know, if a country doesn't have religion, doesn't have faith, doesn't have God, it's going to be very hard to be a good country. You know, there's no reason to be good. I want to be good because you want to prove to God that you're good, so you go to that next step, right? So that's very important to me. I think it's really very important. And yesterday was amazing. We went out. We went to the naval base, the largest in the world, actually, and I saw things that were incredible. The level of I don't want to use the word weapons, but they are weapons. Is the technology on these planes, on the carriers, on all of the different things that we saw. They gave us missile displays. They did the whole. I don't think they've ever done anything like it, but it was really impressive. And the talent of the pilots, where they can land. You know, the aircraft carriers look massive, but when you put them in the middle of like the Atlantic, or in this case, pretty far off the coast of Virginia, and it's sitting in a big ocean. And it was pretty calm yesterday, but it's still a little bit testy, right? Yeah. And you have these guys land right on a thing and come to a sudden screeching halt. And they're really something. They were taking off yesterday, and they look over, oh, sir. And then you see them, and you see them just get ripped back into the seat because the G-forces are so great. And actually, if you're not in great shape, because they were doing maneuvers that were incredible yesterday, and the admirals were explaining that if you're not in really good shape, you don't make it because you pass out. You know, these guys and women. I met some women pilots that, I mean, it's incredible what they're able to do. So we saw something that was great, and you saw the spirit, because we had for a couple of thousand. I think they had probably 22,000, largely sailors, all dressed in the most beautiful white. There wasn't a spot on any of those uniforms. I looked at them. It was just a wave of white, and it was a great crowd and great reception. So, you know, getting back to a very important question that was asked, when you go back a year ago, people weren't joining the armed forces. They weren't joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard, Air Force. If you look at, any of them, they weren't joining Space Force. And now we're setting records recruitment. And that goes for the police and fire. Now they want to be policemen, they want to be firemen. And firemen, people don't mention them. They're incredible. I know so many of them, they're brave as hell. I wouldn't want to do it, I'll tell you. But they weren't able to recruit. The police weren't able to recruit. And the military wasn't able to recruit. We were really off. And I got elected, and it really started on November 5th. I got elected, and somehow the country developed a spirit. Financially, yes, but also with the military. And now we have record levels of people wanting to be in. Every force is filled. We have waiting lists to get into the Marines, to the Army, to the Navy, to the Air Force. We have Coast Guard. We have waiting lists to get in. It's amazing, actually, what's happened. We have a country it was a dead country. And I say it all the time. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's nice to see you. I've watched you for years on television. So it's nice to meet you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Let's head out. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Sullivan, aye. Ms. Rosen, no.
We need an internet bill of rights. And every time I heard it, something inside of me screamed that said, we need an internet bill of rights. And every time I heard it, we need an internet bill of rights. And every time I heard it, something inside of me screamed that said, why? Why do we need that? We already have one. It's called the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, written in ink, not suggestions. Why would we rewrite our rights to placate tech tyrants who think they're above the law? Why would we kneel before Silicon Valley, especially now with Donald J. Trump in a position to use one pen stroke and it's over? A man who knows damn well how to lead. What we need isn't new parchment. We need real enforcement. We need an addendum to the First Amendment for digital platforms, a powerful executive order with 1,000% flexibility to go after any and all guilty parties, plain and simple.
One wrong move and your entire channel could be demonetized, deleted, or you could even get sued.
I had a client who got 3 strikes and he lost his channel. He doesn't even really want his channel back. He just wants his videos back.
Kept getting blocked videos. I would spend a lot of time working on a reaction or working on like a breakdown video, and then I would put it out there and it would get blocked, and then I'm just kind of screwed. I just can't do anything with it.
My fellow Christian warriors, set yourselves apart from this corrupt generation. Be saints.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 45. The motion is agreed to. The presiding officer. Cloture having been invoked pursuant to the provisions of S. Res. 412, the nominations listed therein are pending en bloc.